Welcome to the Rough and Ready. This episode we're going to talk about turnout gear, which was protective clothing that the firefighters wore. And if you look over here on the right, you'll see a red coat. Its outer is rubber, and believe it or not, rubber coats were made and used in the 1880s. And when I joined the fire department in 1977, that is the coat that I got to wear as a probie or probationary member. Until I was voted in as a full member, I wore the red rubber coat and what they used to call a tree cutter helmet, which was a lot of your utilities workers wore them back then. There's one of the helmets just below the coat that we called tree cutter helmets, because most of the time that's what you saw. Phone workers or telephone company or power line workers wore them. And right next to it is what they call a fireball glove. It's a cotton glove that was dipped in kind of a latex material to make it waterproof, but it was in the wintertime. If you got your hands wet, it would freeze. It didn't keep your hands very warm. It did keep them dry, but you got cold hands. But once that stuff was wet and frozen, you couldn't hang on to nothing. So eventually they found out that leather gloves were better, and they went to a leather that was treated for fire retardancy. The coat next to it and the helmet, when I came off of probation in '78, that's what I got to wear, was that kind of helmet. And that one was made out of what they call polycarbonate or plastic, and it would withstand a lot of heat. The coat itself was cotton duck. It's like canvas, and it was treated with a fire retardant. It had a flannel liner that helped keep you warm. It did keep you dry because it was waterproof like canvas and treated so it wouldn't catch fire, but it was made out of cotton. And cotton will only withstand maybe 500 degrees of heat. And then we came into these, which was another version, more or less, of the cotton duck, but they had come around with a material they call Nomex, which withstood more heat before it started to break down. And then this is Nomex, the yellow gear we went to in 1987. It is made of Nomex, and that'll take 700 to 750 degrees before the material starts to break down. And it does have a quilted liner, which would kept us warmer, and there is a moisture barrier in there to keep us dry, because this material, it wasn't really treated with a fire repellent or a fire retardant, but the material itself resisted the fire because it would withstand so much heat. And then we went to this style, which is a variation of Nomex and another material that made it less easy to tear, and it also had the quilted lining, thermal lining, and you've got bunker pants. Up until these two, they didn't have bunker pants. What they had was rubber boots or pull-up boots that would come up 3/4 of the way up your leg to approximately here, to help keep you dry when you're fighting fire. We went to these with the short boots because the pull-up boots were kind of useless if you got them underneath bunker pants. And then in 2003, we went back to black. This is what they call PBI. This material will withstand 1,000 degrees of heat before it starts to break down. And when it breaks down, it'll turn pink. It'll turn pinkish and then a brown when it gets to a point where it's charring. It will burn at that high temperature, but it's so much like a child's snowsuit or a snowmobile suit. It keeps you warm in the winter, and believe it or not, it helps keep you cool in the summer. Even though it is black, you're going to sweat like a stuck pig no matter what. But it helps keep you cool in the summer, and it keeps you cool when you're fighting fire, warm in the winter when you're out of the fire, and that's about it for the turnout gear. When we were using this hand engine, they were fighting with hand engines, they didn't have turnout gear. It was a case of you run what you brung. The clothes you had on your back were what you fought fire with. You dressed accordingly to the weather. If it was the winter time, you had a wool coat on probably. If it was the summertime, you had a chambray or cotton chambray shirt. Whatever. And that's about it for the turnout gear.